Hello and welcome to another video. We're just going to go ahead and jump right in today. I decided that I would like to practice character interactions, so that's just what this is going to be today. I'm going to go ahead and put up the reference I'm using for this picture. I grabbed about 4 different references for today's drawing session, so we're going to see me go through those. And for this first one, I'm just drawing my mafia couple. Still no name. Sorry about that. I'm really bad at naming things. I already said this before. But that's who we're drawing right now. I know I said that I was not for violence between couples, and that is still true. I don't believe in violence between couples. Obviously, that's bad. But this is what is headcanon this is happening towards the beginning of their relationship when they don't really like each other. This is not a canon interaction anyway. I wanted to do some character interactions. I never really draw characters interacting. It's just not something that I practice, and it's not something that pops into my head. And I'm not great at drawing character interactions. Like whenever I draw comics, it's just like going back and forth between the characters just talking. It's like talking heads, and I don't want it to be like that anymore. So I figured if I practice drawing character interactions, I might be able to think of better posing for comics and panels. So that's what we're getting this practice in for today. This was not actually the study I was planning on doing for today. I was actually planning on drawing shoes. I think I talked about that earlier in the week, but I couldn't talk for a really long time yesterday. That's why the video was so short yesterday. I just couldn't bring myself to talk. And even now I'm kind of struggling to talk. I feel like I'm not breathing correctly, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm holding my breath. I think it's because I'm trying not to say as much, just because several people have told me that I say too much in my videos, and I agree, I do say too much. I think I'm just using it as like a spacer when I am thinking, but I try not to do that anymore. So I think that's making me like hold my breath when I'm trying to do the voiceover. I thought about going back to scripting because at the beginning I did script my videos, but I don't really do that anymore just because writing the script takes a really long time. But also I'm like, I don't wanna write a script. I feel like even if I write a script, I still say a lot. So I don't know. On to the drawing for a little bit. I'll just talk about my materials. I'm using the same thing I always use, you guys. I don't really change my art materials. I know that you should change your art materials every once in a while, just because if you do, you can get a little bit more inspiration that way sometimes. Like if you're in a funk, or like a art block, if you're in an art block, you can try different materials and it can help you get out of art block a little bit. But when I'm in art block, I don't know. I don't ever feel like changing materials. Maybe it would help me more, but I don't know. I haven't been in art block in a while, so hopefully I didn't just jinx myself into getting into art block. But yeah. So like I said, I'm just using the same thing I always use. It is a Ecoline brush pen in the color purple for when I color it, and the pen I'm using is just the regular high-tech C, just a regular high-tech C in 0.3. I'm a creature of habit. What could I say? But I am using them in purple today. I don't think you guys have ever seen me sketch in purple. Personally, I don't really like the color purple that much, which is probably why you haven't seen me use it, really. And I did talk about this prior, but the high-tech C, the purple one, does smear a lot, which is not bad when it comes to this drawing because these are just doodles. But when I use them in finished pieces, they do smear a lot. So I think it's also partially why I don't really like to use the purple one too much. And also, I think purple and red are like my least favorite colors. And they're pretty much the ones I use the least, or the ones I even think about using the least, other than yellow. It's not that I dislike yellow. Yellow is a fine color, but it's just like yellow is really hard to use when it's like pen ink because it's really hard to show up. I would not sketch in yellow and then show it to you guys because it's definitely not going to show up on camera. It's like way too bright. Especially the Ecoline brush pen, the watercolor brush pens that I use, it's like a highlighter. And not that I have anything against highlighters, but it's not really my sort of vibe. So I do use it. I have used it in this sketchbook prior. That's how I know it's like really super highlighter bright. I don't think I'm ever going to use it on camera for you guys or even really use it again in my sketchbook. I didn't really like the way that it looked. I was like, oh, I'll buy a whole brand new yellow pen just so I can sketch in yellow. And then I only used it the one time for like 2 pages. I was like, no thanks. So when it came for me to find references for this piece, I struggled a little bit. Well, it's not a piece, it's just a doodle page. But when came time for me to find references for this doodle page, it was actually kind of hard for me because when I was looking up for character interactions, I was trying to fit things that kind of fit the personalities of my characters. So even though I'm currently drawing the mafia couple, they're not the only ones I draw for this sketch spread. I thought that would be kind of boring and kind of repetitive just because I've drawn the mafia couple for 2 out of the 5 videos for this week. I'm sure you guys are sick of seeing them already. I drew them a bunch of times last week too. I'm sorry, they're just in my head a little bit right now, so I've been drawing them a bit. If you're not sick of them, that's great, and if you are sick of them, I'm sorry. This is the only drawing of them in this sketch spread that you guys see. I will talk about those other characters as those drawings start to pop up, but yeah, for now, we're just doing this current drawing. And so, uh, I I have a bunch of different characters, and so I was trying to find things and that would fit their personalities pretty much. And also I was trying to figure out which characters I wanted to pair together for these character interactions. And so I picked some characters that don't it's not that they don't interact in the stories. It's just I don't typically write their interactions just because I kind of take it for granted based off of their personalities. Like I have a pair of friends, two pairs of friends, and then I have a couple in the bottom, which you'll see later. But I never really write character interactions too much when I'm thinking of drawing. I don't know why. I mostly just think of like AUs or like little one-off drawings. I'm not like I am very story focused person, right? But I'm not thinking of character interactions like that in a way for drawing. So I just really wanted to practice doing that. So I decided to start off with this sketch here and this reference here. Honestly, I didn't find this one on Pinterest. The rest of them I did go on Pinterest to find, but I just saw this one on an Instagram reel and I was like, that would be fun. And that's what kind of gave me the idea to do this whole spread. Even though technically I don't know if this would count as a character interaction because they're not technically interacting. It's more of like the precedent before they begin to interact, if that makes sense. But doing all of these character interactions actually did push me a little bit more to do poses that I would never typically do. Like I would never think to draw this, just because that's actually kind of out there. I don't think they would in canon they would ever have a situation like this. I just feel like it doesn't really fit the girl's personality too much. Like she is violent, but she's not like randomly violent like this. But this is just a fun way to explore ideas, character dynamics, and different poses in my sketchbook. So it's just supposed to be for fun. Not everything you draw needs to be canon. I think a lot of people who draw and have characters, they draw lots of stuff and they write lots of stuff that's not canon. Most of the time, I don't draw or write the canon story just because I'm like, I don't feel like writing the canon stuff, and it's more fun to write AUs and things that are like not canon. So I figured I'd just do some fun non canon drawings here too. But I've tried to get something that fit the vibe and their personalities. Because even if these are non canon interactions, I still want it to feel like them because I kind of feel like what's the point of even doing the drawings if it doesn't even feel like the characters? So I did that as the best as I could. I mean, I feel like it fits their personalities. At least this drawing does, and I think the other ones too. But some of them, like the last one, is a little bit out of character just because uh, the characters would not interact in the story in that way, and at least not until way, way, way later in the story. Because I plan for the story to be really long, and I plan for it to be kind of a slow burn. So, but that we'll get to them again. Like I said, I'll get to them later in the story. I mean, later on in this page. I did struggle a bit when I'm doing these drawings, and you'll see that as the video goes on. You'll especially see it in my last drawing. It did not come out very good. That's because I was like, I cannot get the angle at all. You'll see it in a second, but oh, sorry. I'll just go ahead and pop up the reference for this next drawing. Okay, so like I was saying, so I did have some trouble doing these sketches just because it's really out of my wheelhouse. Like I said, I don't draw character interactions and I don't really study poses too much. Mostly I just draw people face forward or to the side. And so this is like some three-quarter stuff, a little bit different stuff. Making things what's it called? Where they angle differently. So like his head is facing one way and his body is facing the other. I don't really think of poses like that just because I don't practice them. And so this was a lot of fun to practice them. I did have a lot of fun. I did have a lot of fun doing these just because it's not something I normally ever do. And it's fun to try new things in your art. I would recommend it to try new things. Oh, also, sorry, I forgot to say what characters I'm drawing now. I'm actually drawing Duke and Kamau now. I mean, currently I'm drawing Kamau, but Duke will be the other person in there. And so I chose this interaction for them just because since they are best friends, I felt like it would be fun if I drew them interacting a little bit and trying to get a little bit of their personality to shine through in this picture. So Kamau is actually more of the serious friend, and Duke is sort of like the shit talker out of the two of them. Like they're both like a little bit of shit talkers. And so that's why I liked this one because it made it Kamau seem like he is listening to the shit talk and he's covering his mouth to kind of like hide his smile. I'm not sure if he's smiling in this picture. I don't think he is, but he is definitely listening to Duke, and they're talking badly about other people because that's what they do. Like I said, I don't think have I ever said that they're not good people. They are partially antagonists of the story, so I would not necessarily mean that they're not good people, but they can be shitty sometimes. That's just the kind of guys that they are. So I just drew them being a little bit shitty together. So that's what friends are for, right? Obviously not. You should try to have friends who make you a better person. But they do change and grow into better people as the story progresses through the power of friendship, I guess. Friendship with other people, though. Not that they stop being friends. They don't stop being friends, but they get other relationships, and those other relationships help them become a little bit of better people. Also, another reason why I chose this pose is because he's sitting down. I've done a couple of sitting down poses, and I felt like I was getting a little bit better at them, but obviously I needed to be humbled because I was getting a little cocky, and so the sitting down pose is not the best. But I feel like he still looks like he's sitting down. But I didn't copy the reference one to one just because I'm not great at copying from photos. We talked about this before. Yeah, so it looks a little bit different, but that's okay. Not everything needs to be a one to one. And also, it's probably better because I have to look up who the artist is on the for this reference because I'm not sure if they allow reposts of their art. I mean, there's a link to their Patreon. I'm on the it shows what their Patreon is in the photo, so you guys can go support their Patreon. They had a bunch of stuff on Pinterest, so I'm hoping that they were the one uploading those on Pinterest and people just didn't steal their stuff from their Patreon and upload it. If I find out that this is like from their Patreon and they don't want it, I will take that part out of the video because that's fucked up. I don't want to take anybody's Patreon exclusive stuff and put it in my video as a reference. Like that's messed up. Stuff that's on behind a paywall has got to stay behind a paywall. If it's from like an individual, right? Like if it's like pirate a TV show, that's not my business. Okay, but if it's like an individual creator and a small business or whatever, don't pirate people's stuff if they're a small business. You guys, like, come on. Art is for everybody, yes, but artists gotta pay the bills. Artists gotta eat. So if they're putting something behind a paywall, if you don't want to pay for it, don't pay for it, but don't steal it. I feel like that's fucked up. So yeah, go look at that artist's Patreon because they had a lot of cool poses. I would have done more, but I didn't want to do all just the same poses from the same artist. Like I said, I don't know if that stuff was stolen off of their Patreon, and I didn't want to put a bunch of it in my video if it was. So please, if anybody knows, let me know because if it turns out that it is, I will definitely take it down because I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that kind of person, profiting off of other people's stuff that was stolen. That's fucked up. Anyway, moving on from that point, I decided that when I was doing these character actions, that I was going to draw them as my OCs, just because even though this is supposed to be practice, I also wanted it to be fun for me. I think that's what these bases are for. Obviously, it's like a draw your OC type base. So if you're gonna do one, you typically draw your OCs. But for a second, I was thinking, do I just want to copy the poses? I was like, no, I should make them my OCs. What's the point if I'm not gonna make them my OCs? And you guys know, while I draw my OCs, that's all I ever want to draw. But I was thinking about doing fan art this week. But then I was like, no, 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 no. So maybe I'll do fan art next week. And I was thinking about it because I was using this purple pen, and the character I wanted to do fan art for was purple. And it's not like obscure, but it's like probably not the first thing you think I would want to draw fan art for just because I've never mentioned the series before on my channel. Maybe I'll post some fan art of this guy next week. He's purple. And I would say who it is, but also I kind of want to you guys to be surprised. I think it would be funny. So try to think of any purple anime characters that you guys know. Because that's who I felt like wanting to draw because of this pen. But then again, they're just gonna be doodles. Don't expect anything finished. We already know my deal with finished stuff. I don't ever want to finish anything. I was doing those cute girl tobers, but I needed to take a break from those because they were tiring me out a little bit. And here I am just drawing Duke's expression. I did change the expression from the reference a little bit. I feel like in the reference, both of their faces are a little bit serious, but I was like, well, Duke he can be serious sometimes, but Kamau is definitely the more serious of the two. When they're together, Duke is the more silly of the two because when you get with your friends, you have different vibes than if you do with other people. So when Duke is around other people, he tends to be the more serious one, but when he's around Kamau, he tends to become the more silly one. So I wanted to give him a little bit of an expression that's a little bit more of a fun guy and less of a serious guy. I just wanted to draw something that was a little bit more true to their personalities and their dynamic. And then I took a little bit of time. You see me, I took time there. And then the whole lighting situation changed. I don't know what that was about because I didn't really go anywhere. I mean, I must say it went somewhere because I took the thing off, but I think I hit the light, or I think this light shuts off a little bit, like it dims as time is going on. I didn't even notice just because this session was actually a little bit longer than usual. And then I just put Duke in the same shirt that I always put him in. I was thinking that I was just gonna draw them in their usual outfits, but then I was like, if Duke is wearing like a shirt that he would wear to the gym, it really wouldn't make sense if Kamal was wearing like a full winter puffer vest, right? And so I just ended up putting Kamal in like this high neck, like what's it called? Under Armour type shirt because it's like they're working out together. And so when Duke wears is the type to wear a loose shirt and Kamal is the type to wear a tight shirt, which is not even true. Usually when I draw Kamal in his workout outfit, it's a loose shirt, but I was like, I don't want to draw them both in a loose shirt. That's boring. And so I was like, I'll draw him in a tight shirt. And also, I really like the look of a high neck. I've talked about this before. I like high neck and arms exposed. That's just me for all my OCs. Men, women, non binary people, high neck, no sleeves, okay? It's just a nice look. It's a good look, you guys. Try it with your characters and try to tell me that it's not a good look. So that's just what I decided to draw him in, just for a little bit of variety. And I mean variety in between the two of them, not variety in between my other characters, because I do draw another one of my OCs in a high neck outfit. Like I said, you guys, it's just one of my favorites. I just like the way it looks. And honestly, the other character, I usually put him in a high neck thing anyway, so we shouldn't be surprised about this. And so I'm just finishing off his pants here. I give him a high-waisted pants. Okay, so like I said, I like a high neck look, but then I also really like high-waisted pants. And I blame Vegeta from Dragon Ball for this because if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Z, you know that there's one thing that Vegeta likes when he's wearing like civilian clothes. It's high-waisted pants. And I was like, that is a look. That is a look that I enjoy. And so Vegeta is my favorite character from Dragon Ball Z. So I was like, that's and actually everybody in Dragon Ball Z when they're wearing like civilian clothes is like wearing high waisted pants anyway. And I'm like, high waisted pants is just a superior way to wear pants. I'm sorry, that's a cuter look than just especially low rise pants. No offense to people who like low rise pants, but it's just I don't find it appealing. Anyway, we're on to the next drawing now, and I'm just gonna put the reference right there. Alrighty. So for this drawing, I decided to go a little bit different from this. So the pose is actually I think it's supposed to be romantic, but maybe that's me just viewing it just because it's a man and a woman, and I have some unchecked biases. But I think it's supposed to be read as romantic, but I did not draw it as romantic. I drew it as more of like an ironic sort of way, I guess. So I'm drawing my two OCs, Cricket and Cole. So Cricket and Cole are in the same story as Duke and Kamal. They're from like rival friend groups or whatever. And so Cricket and Cole are friends, but they're friends in the way where they don't like each other, if that makes sense. So both Cricket and Cole are like, I don't want to say assholes because they are supposed to be the protags and like the good guys of our story. But when they're together, they tend to antagonize each other a little bit. And you know how there's always that one friend in your friend group that is like your least favorite friend? So basically, they're both each other's least favorite friend. And so, Cole is typically like a cocky, sort of like cringe, sort of red moderator guy. And so he thinks he's like superior to people a little bit. And so he's always trying to like, you're so stupid, that kind of guy. He's like, that guy's dumb, and I'm gonna show him that he's dumb. But like in a sarcastic sort of way. Like, what's it called? The jailhouse bar teeth. I usually draw him like that with those because it gives off like a certain vibe for a character. And I give Cricket the jailhouse bar teeth when I do his. So when they get together, Cricket they like to troll each other basically. And so just in this one, Cole is holding up Cricket, and so Cricket is the one being the troll. And I feel like right after this drawing or after this picture is taken, I guess if it would be a picture in the canon of their world, he definitely just dropped Cricket on the ground. Somehow Cricket convinced him to hold him up for a picture like this, and then right after the picture was taken, splat right on the floor. But the reason that I decided to draw the two of them together for this is because I've actually only once ever drawn them interacting. So I have this idea for the ways that I want them to interact, but I never draw them together and I don't really write them together either. Whenever I'm writing them together with their whole friend group, it's really just the whole friend group together. It's a friend group of four guys. And so whenever they're on page together, it's usually all four of them or they're all off individually doing their own thing, which is like not a good way to build friendships and story. You kind of want your characters to interact so that characters, not so that way the audience knows how they're friends, how they interact with each other, and that they have believable friendships and stuff. And so I was like, well, I'll start drawing stuff for them because they're supposed to be main characters, and I should start to depict them not only as main characters, but as main characters who interact. Because even if they're friends who are like each other's least favorite friend, they are still friends. And so there should be some things that they do together in like a friend sort of way. And there you see me kind of struggling to draw this pose. I have literally never drawn a pose like this before, especially not with like the whole ass out. Obviously in the drawing, I'm not in the drawing, but in the photo, the girl is covered up, like she's got like underwear on, but her ass is pretty much all the way out there. And I was like, I would never have thought to draw anything like this, especially now with his whole butt out. Obviously, he's gonna have pants on because you can't post nudity on YouTube, and I would not be interested in posting nudity on YouTube either. But for right now, it does look like he's just straight up cheeked up right there before I put his pants on. But I never would have thought to draw this pose if I didn't find a reference for it. Which is why I always emphasize finding a reference, you guys, because you never know what kind of reference you're going to find or what kind of reference you're going to vibe with. You might draw something you never drew before, and maybe it'll come out bad, but maybe it'll come out really good. I don't think this drawing is super very good, but I do think it was a lot of fun, and I do think I learned some stuff. So that's good. Maybe when I do another one of these videos of drawing not canon, when I character interactions, maybe I'll focus more on romantic interactions instead of these ones are clearly a little bit more platonic, except for the last one. The last one could be read as romantic or platonic. Yeah, so I feel like maybe I'll try to focus a little bit more on romantic interactions for the next one just because I don't it's not that I don't like romance. I do like to write romance and I like to watch romances and stuff and like consume romantic media. But when I'm drawing, I don't really draw things that are romantic just because I get kind of embarrassed. I'm like, oof, well, I don't want people to see this. It's like you're making characters and you're just like, make them kiss or whatever. Obviously, lots of people do that. That's not an uncommon thing to do, and it's not an embarrassing thing to do. Right. That's how stories get made. What if everyone was like, "Oh, it's really cringe that they made those characters kiss in that story that they put on TV?" That wouldn't make much sense, right? So I just try to get over that a little bit in my own mind. So I want to try and draw a bit more romantic interactions. I did try after I finished this video. I tried to draw something a little bit more romantic, and I was like, this makes me so embarrassed. So I'm not gonna share it. I did draw it on the same page, but I just didn't record it because I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try something a little bit more romantic," and it made me embarrassed. I don't know why it does. Probably I don't know why. I don't know. I try to think of why it could make me so embarrassed, but I can't figure it out. Honestly, most of the time though, I do like to watch people fall in love, but I don't really like to watch like the kissing and stuff. Like if a movie has like kissing or like an intimate scene, I'm like, okay, is this gonna be over soon? I don't really care for that part of romance. I care more about like the falling in love parts. So I'm also one of those people who like, it's not that I don't want to see characters happy. I do want to see characters happy and in love, but after the characters fall in love, I kind of lose interest. I guess I like slow burn. So I like a slow burn and then like maybe one or two chapters with the characters being happy in love. If they fall in love and they're like a couple halfway through the story, I find it boring. And I don't mean in a way like I want them to like break up and then get back together and then break up again. I don't mean that. I don't like that. That's frustrating and that's stupid. When they're in love, they're in love, okay? Figure out ways to keep them in love and happy. I just mean like, I don't know, maybe I just like the chase. I just feel like when characters are doing the falling in love part and they're like pining and stuff, I feel like that's just like more of the interesting dynamic. So maybe when I try to do it after the characters do fall in love, I'll do like stuff that is still like pining. You know what I mean? Like still thinking like, oh man, should I reach out and grab their hand, even if they are like your spouse? I feel like it's just a little bit cuter if you still have a little bit of hesitancy and like you're so in love, where it makes you be like butterflies in your tummy, even if you've been married for like 20 years. I just think that's cute. I wouldn't say that that's entirely realistic, but it's fiction, and so I can make things however I want. But I was gonna try and draw more romantic poses, but not not like kissing and stuff. I tried to draw kissing. It's super embarrassing. But I have to get better at it because if I want to depict romance in my stories, the characters are gonna have to kiss. I mean, you don't have to kiss to show romantic attraction, but for people who are like heterosexual and stuff, or like just like allosexuals in general, those guys tend to kiss each other and stuff. Yeah, so most of my characters are allosexual. So that's something I gotta figure out. Alrighty, so moving on to the final drawing. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the reference up for this one right here. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and be honest with you guys, okay? I feel this is a space where we can be honest with each other and say things that are on our minds. Alright, so this is a drawing of my characters Hope and James, but it did not come out very well. And not in the way that when I say like my doodle, I didn't like it, in the way that I didn't even really bother finishing it. And I was thinking about cutting it out of the video just because I really didn't like it, and also because like I said, I didn't finish it. But I decided to keep it in the video just to show you guys that sometimes you mess things up really bad, but it doesn't mean that you have to like be embarrassed about it, I guess pretty much. So this drawing is not very good. It's not very finished, and I could have just redrew it, but this video was getting really long, and so I was like, no. But I didn't want to cut it out either. I was like, it's okay. It would have shortened the video a lot, which would have made me happy. But it's like, no, it's fine. We'll just leave it in. Let other people see that sometimes we mess up. Like these drawings are not perfect, but this one is definitely the worst out of the bunch. Just because it has perspective. I mean, obviously it has perspective. Everything has perspective, but the way that they're sitting, it's got foreshortening. That's what I meant. So it's got some foreshortening, and I don't practice foreshortening. Like I said, I just starting to practice different poses for my characters. So with this drawing and also the very first one I did, they have a little bit of foreshortening in them. I feel like it's a little bit more successful in the first drawing than it is in this one. And so it didn't come out very good, but that's okay. When I was drawing it, I was like, it's not coming out very good, but I was like, I'm pushing through anyway. It's okay if it's not that good. It's just a doodle in my sketchbook. And that's what the kind of mentality we have to have, you guys, okay? We push through drawings even though they're ugly. And if I really hated it that much, I would cover it up with a sticky note. But I don't hate it that much. Even though it's not very good, I actually don't mind it. There's something cute about it. I think when I draw James, I like the way James's face came out. I hope I feel like it's a little bit off, but that's okay. It's just a little doodle in my sketchbook. So, they are drinking a milkshake together. That's the one that I decided to go for this one. Just because I think I did say it earlier in the video. So they are romantic interests in the story, Hope and James, but not for a really, really long time. And it's not like it's complicated, but it is kind of convoluted. I had planned for Hope to have a crush on James throughout the story and James to be oblivious about it just because he's, I don't know, the everyman guy. He's the only one who has a crush. It's not like a harem. I hate harems. No offense if you like harems. Like what you like. I just don't like harems because you know which girl he's gonna end up with or which guy the girl is gonna end up with. I don't know. I feel like it's like a weird sense. I don't know. I just don't like harems. And also, I don't like the way that they drag characters. Like, they drag, like, their love interests along. They have, like, 5 love interests, and then they drag them along, even though we know which one is his favorite, like, from the get-go, or her favorite from the get-go. It's like, okay, whatever. And then someone always gets their feelings hurt, and they try to, like, play it off by giving those characters, like the losers in the harem, they try to give them their own love interest, like right at the end. But it's like, no, you spent all this time trying to get us to like this girl and this guy together. Usually, because usually harems are like hetero. I don't know what it is about heterosexuals, but they like a harem, I guess. But yeah, and you spent all this time trying to get them, trying to show us why they should be together, why they like each other. And then you're just like, yank, you get to have this couple. It's like, I don't want that. That's messed up. And it hurt. I don't like it when the characters have their feelings hurt. Obviously, if you need to do it for story reasons, that's fine. But like, it feels unnecessary to me and just mean. I know there's tragedy and romance or whatever, and you're not always gonna end up with the person that you like, but I just don't like it. That's the same reason I don't like love triangles. It just doesn't make sense. It's sure there's gonna be times where stuff like that happens, but as a person who has those feelings, like if you're in the middle of a love triangle, I feel like you should tell them which one you prefer and get it over with. If it turns out that, hey, this relationship didn't work out, whatever, break up. And then if you want to go try it with that other person, whatever. But don't lead people on. I feel like that's messed up. So I don't really like that. So it's not like that. It's not a harem. It's just that James is oblivious to Hope's feelings, which is also, I know, frustrating for some people. But I do have plan for them to have a lot of interactions, and they are gonna they are best friends in the story. So they become really close during the story, and they end up being like really close friends. And then eventually they realize, well, Hope realizes already that he has a crush on James, but eventually, James realizes that he also likes Hope, and so then it's a pining thing that they're like, I like him, but he doesn't know that I like him, you know. But I don't think he likes me, and then it's like then eventually they do get together towards the end of the story. Like I said, I really like the pining part of the story. I mean, I like it when they're together, so there would be, like, a couple of chapters where they're together, or, like, probably the final arc of the comic that I plan for them to be in would be, like, all of just them being together and stuff, but it would take a really long time. But I figured I would just draw them being a little bit cute together. Like I said, this could be seen as a romantic pose, but also it could just be seen as like, hey, we're just sharing a milkshake. Like they're in that phase, right, where their friends are like watching them is like, why aren't you guys dating? They're like, why would we be dating? Right? So it's like that sort of thing. They're like, we're just sharing a milkshake. We didn't want two milkshakes. We just wanted one. So you could look at this however way you wanted, I guess. Hopefully, you guys don't mind too much when I ramble about my OCs. I feel like it's kind of hard to follow what I'm saying sometimes just because it's kind of disjointed and I only give you information about them whenever they pop up in videos. So I feel like maybe I'll try to do some videos where I talk about their individual stories just for the ones that I tend to draw the most, like Hope and James, and then Cricket and Kamau and Duke and all those guys, and then my Mafia couple. I'll try to put all the information I have for them into those videos just so that way if you ever want to learn about them, you could just go watch those. I could put them in like the card so that way people can know about them a little bit more. Just every time I mention them, I'll just pop those videos up in the card. Just because I feel like it could get kind of either frustrating or confusing if every time I talk about them, I just slip a new piece of information and then it's just like all over the place. So I feel like I would think about making videos where I, can go ahead and talk about them individually or as a group story. And then that's where all the information will be. Just something a little bit more succinct and less all over the place. Alrighty, so now I'm just going in with the color. I'm just coloring them in the same way I always do. And like always, I cut out the hatching. It's so sad. I like the hatching. I left it in the other video though, so I couldn't make myself leave it into this one because like I said, it makes the video longer and I feel like it's boring just to watch me hatch. If you guys like hatching, I'll make like a little short or something about how I hatch and how I learned how to hatch. Not cross hatching though. I already talked about this. I don't really like cross hatching, but just regular hatching. Maybe I'll make a little short about that and just how like the exercises that I did so that way I could get a little bit better at it. And then I just put the little blushies on their cheeks. I don't really talk about what I do when I do the coloring just because I feel like it's kind of straightforward, but I do like to put little blushies on their ears and their cheeks and their noses and their elbows and their fingers just because if you look at yourself, that's usually where more blood tends to collect in your body. So those points of your body tend to be a little bit redder. So your shoulders are a little bit redder typically. Your fingertips are usually a little bit redder, the tip of your nose, your cheeks, sometimes your ears are a little bit red. Obviously, nobody is really having like a full-on blush like this, but it doesn't have to be realistic, right? It's a drawing. And I used to draw characters with blush all the time when I was younger. I don't really draw characters with blush too much. I mean, you're looking at me now drawing characters with blush, but that's just because I started adding that back into my drawings pretty recently. Before I wasn't really doing that. I fell off. And then I was like, what if I'm adding this marker to my drawings now? So what if I just started adding blush? I was like, it's so cute. I don't know why I ever stopped. Blush is so cute. But actually I do know why I stopped because it was hard to tell when a character was like blushing because they were embarrassed or if they just had a natural flush to their face. And it is a little bit harder to tell, and now I have to, like, draw, like, the blush all the way across the face and then add some blush lines so that way you can see that they're actually blushing instead of just having the natural flush. And so when I do, like, more finished drawings, I do a combination of the flush across the cheeks and the little lines just so it's a little bit more clear. But I just like blush, you guys. I just think it's so cute. It makes them look, like, so shiny and adorable. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with making your characters just a little bit more cutesy. I know my style is not a really cutesy style, but I do like to incorporate things that make them just a little bit cuter. Overall, I would say this is a pretty successful sketch page, and I hope that you enjoyed watching it and doing it with me. I'm planning on doing a little bit more character interactions in the future, just so I can get a little bit better, because if I'm gonna do comics, the characters are gonna have to interact, you know? So that's the end of the video. Thanks you guys for spending this time with me. I'll go ahead and see you in the next one. Bye-bye!